Trust me, I'm from GBC Live. Today we have Morten Brandtoft, Head of Innovation of Denmark in China. And we are so happy having him, and he's going to let us know about Innovation Denmark, what are their plans, also what they are doing, and in a way of cooperation with nHack. Thank you so much, Morten, for being here. And we are so happy finally having you here. We've been talking with each other, I think, around a year. And finally, we have you in our session, which all our viewers, they can see Morten after a year.
My pleasure.
You're welcome. So all our viewers, they would love to know about you, and then about Innovation Denmark, and then we go on for your cooperation with nHack. So please.
Great. Maybe first a word of myself. I've been heading the Danish Innovation Center based in Shanghai, but
nice.
As you mentioned, covering all of China
nice.
for the last 3 years.
Nice.
And what we basically do, our vision is to assist Danish companies, scientists, researchers, universities in building fruitful collaborations in China and make them succeed in the Chinese market as well. So this is our core of what we do.
Perfect. How long have you been doing it here, Morten?
I've been living here in China for 3 years.
3 years.
And the Innovation Center is established 10 years ago.
10 years ago?
Yes.
That's awesome. I mean, China is getting a bit vibe of innovation and entrepreneurship around 5 to 6 years that we've been here. But it seems Denmark is kind of, they are aware of everything, which country getting more innovative country in the future. So you got Innovation Denmark got in here 10 years ago, which is impressive to know that. It's really good. What is your cooperation with nHack?
Well, I was so lucky to be invited to the inauguration ceremony of nHack 1.5 years ago or so in also Shanghai.
Nice.
And after this inauguration ceremony, I approached Chris because I could see a great potential in partnering up.
Nice.
We very much believe in partnerships for the Danish companies approaching China. We know the importance of partnerships in China.
Nice.
So we very soon could see that this was a vehicle that could assist many Danish companies in entering the Chinese market in a successful way. So we are now a proud nHack partner.
Nice, perfect. This is awesome. After being here like 3 years and being with Denmark Innovation Center here, so how do you see the China's innovation ecosystem?
I think to me what is most impressive in China is not the huge numbers as such in the market size. It's the speed of development. So I think I'm really impressed to see how fast China is developing, how fast China is innovating, and it is a huge opportunity space for Danish companies to accelerate their internationalization and market growth. But it's also a great source of inspiration for how to innovate in very, very fast iterations. And I think China will in the future be for sure one of the leading driving innovation forces globally. So it's a place to be, whether you want to sell your product or whether you want to gain insights into how the future is going to look.
Nice. Do you see any other countries as better than China, that like any country they have their innovation center there, or China is the best in current situation?
Of course, everybody used to be looking to Silicon Valley as the source of true innovations, and still a lot of interesting stuff is coming out of Silicon Valley, United States.
Exactly.
I think Denmark and the Nordics has some advantages. We are very strong in clean tech, in life science, in certain specific areas. Have a strong tradition for maybe basic research. So I think we have something in our ecosystem in the Nordics that is also very, very inspiring and relevant for China as well.
Yeah.
So I think what we're going to see in the future is that innovation ecosystems much more converge into a global innovation ecosystem, and China is going to play a very important role.
Nice. What are those barriers that any Nordic startup company that they might face in China if they want to get into China's market?
That's a very good question, and I think that's actually one of the reasons why so many Nordic companies, Danish companies, are looking to Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Is it's more, you can say, they're more familiar with the Western style of doing innovation, the Western style of approaching markets, and so I think one of the big obstacles is simply that China is like an unknown area, and it's simply very, very difficult if you have no clue on how to navigate.
Yeah.
To first of all select China, although you know the market sizes and the impressive numbers, but really making, you can say, a fact-based decision of entering China or not, it's difficult if you do not know exactly how to navigate. The risk of making mistakes and not succeeding are perceived to be too high. And that is exactly why I think good partnerships with the Innovation Center, with nHack, is the way to go.
Exactly. And we completely agree. We've been doing a lot of things in China in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship. And I think that being here under umbrella of any innovation center, either Nordic or any other innovation centers that these days they are active in China, it's a kind of necessity for every single startup. And what Morten said completely makes sense. And yeah, that's a beautiful point. So do you have other points on that?
Well, I think what we hope to also be able to, with our cooperation with nHack, is to showcase that it is possible also for small tech companies to succeed in the Chinese market with the right partners, and then to inspire many more Danish companies, not just to look to Silicon Valley, but also look to Shanghai, to China for true market acceleration.
Cool. Do you think that the speed of growth and the speed and the craziness here in China is more than Silicon Valley or London, Berlin, that they are active in terms of entrepreneurship and innovation?
I think in some ways, at least, the way that innovation is being brought to market in fast iterations, maybe without the necessarily quality assurance as we see in both the United States and in Europe. I think this is something very specific for China. It's like almost you innovate and you make your Series 1 product or beta product to the market in certain sizes, maybe 10,000. You get customer feedback while you still continue innovating the next iteration. I think this is something very special for China. And I think it's something that the world could learn from. Because, I mean, in Denmark, we often see companies have really, truly innovative products, but the quality assurance aspect, the risk of not having a fully qualified and thoroughly tested product is keeping them back. And then time to market here in China is so important. So the way of innovating in the West is, I think, have a lot to learn from the way of innovating in China. But maybe also because the Chinese consumer and the Chinese society seems to be much more willing to try new products. Maybe also because the upside or the value creation in China in many, many areas are much larger than in Europe and the Nordics, because we have almost optimized every part of our society. But in China, it seems to be huge areas of value creation that enables fast iteration and still creating a lot of value without maybe having a 100% tested product in the first batch, you can say.
Yeah, nice. You know, one of the things which is important with, for all the startups that we have, which it's really important for them to survive, is capital. So how is it for, let's say, I'm bringing up a kind of example, let's say one startup, let's say they have a good market, but they want to scale up. For scaling up, they need more capital, they need more money, they need funds to, boost it up, like bigger and expand their businesses. So that capital is easy to gain in China, or that capital is easier to gain it in Silicon Valley, in terms of fundraising, as you know?
I think many Danish companies, at least, have been looking to Silicon Valley for acceleration capital.
Yeah.
At least in Denmark, the seed and the early stage financing opportunities are somehow limited, which also is related to the limited size of the Danish or Nordic markets.
Exactly.
So I think there's a huge potential if you want to explore market acceleration in China, to also explore access to Chinese capital, because Chinese capital understands the opportunity in China, whereas the Danish investors not necessarily would understand the potential in China.
Exactly.
So there's a different risk profile, which also makes then very much sense if you want to go to China to accelerate your market expansion. Then you for sure should also look into Chinese capital.
The Chinese capital. Well, we've seen a lot of startup companies, they get in here, they had a kind of high expectation, but in terms of getting capital, they were not successful because there are a lot of terms and there are a lot of things and criteria have to be met. So it's not easy to get capital in China. However, China's investors, they have big and large funds to invest in many startups, but it's not easy. So how do you see China in future in 10 years in terms of innovation and technology?
I think China will take a leading position in many, many interesting areas. I mean, already now China is leading within fast-speed trains, advanced drones technology. But I think now I have the pleasure of being together with my colleagues from the other global innovation centers we have in Silicon Valley, in Munich, in Tel Aviv, some of the innovation hotspots we have. And for them, for instance, saying artificial intelligence is already recognized in Silicon Valley to be a catch-up game from the US side. So I think it's recognized that already now China is leading in many interesting areas that will shape the future. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, voice recognition, facial recognition, all these technologies, I'm sure China will be a leader. Besides, you can say all this very, very interesting convergence between e-commerce, fintech, O2O business models. I think we will see so much innovation coming out, maybe more in the application side of China, but I'm sure China will be leading in many areas 10 years from now.
That's awesome and great. Thank you so much, Morten, Head of Innovation of Denmark here in China. Really appreciate for your time.
My pleasure.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.